away from home. This is Brazil.
James McFadden scores for Scotland. The afternoon belongs to Lewis Vaughan. Make it 3. It's 3-0.
The SPFL season is almost at an end. I can't believe 25-26 campaign is almost done. What a season it's been. It feels like it was just starting up recently. So today we're going to come together to rank the pound for pound best teams that have impressed us the most this season. As ever, I'm one of your hosts, Callum, and I'm joined by my good friend. We teased a story last week, Fraser. You're going to tell us about your trips to the USA where you got to meet Steve Clarke. But firstly, how are you doing before you tell us that story?
Very well, thank you, Callum. Yeah, I'm quite enjoying this new format. It's quite interesting. Normally, I'm not really looking at you when I'm speaking. Normally, I'm kind of looking at the camera. I'm looking at the wall in front of me. Today, I've got you on my phone propped up. I'm looking directly into your eyes. This is
Yep.
a sort of 1-to-1 that we don't really normally get on the podcast. So it's quite intimate. I don't know what your thoughts on that.
Well, and all the people at home listening in, of course, as well.
Well,
Can't
yeah,
forget about them. Fraser, a man you have been speaking to one-to-one with, has been Steve Clarke. And we forgot to bring it up last week. It's been the main talking point for Joga Bonito. We've not spoke about it. You're in New York. You went off and you said to me, I'm looking forward to this event. There might be some people from the SFA there. Not too sure. Maybe some people from the marketing team. Have a little chat, get to know them a little bit. Which they some people were. It sounds like you had a great time talking to them. But the cherry on top of the cake was you got to meet Steve Clarke.
Callum, honestly, it exceeded all expectations. I went out, so, little backstory. My sister's in New York. She's living there. She's working there for a short period of time. Today's actually our 1-year anniversary since she went out. I don't know if that's how you use the word anniversary, but there you go. She went out a year ago today, and she'll be there until the end of October, November. So she's there, and as part of our sort of experience, she was doing a bit of work for Tartan Week, which is not something I'd heard of. I'll hold my hands up. I was unaware. I hadn't quite made it over this side of the Atlantic, for me anyway. But basically it is a week of just Americans cosplaying as Scottish people, or Scottish Americans sort of celebrating their roots, or people who, Americans with Scottish heritage, or just Americans who just love Scotland because they've watched Outlander, for example. So anyway, I went over and I thought, Iona's going to be working at this. My sister, I want to get involved. I want to go and see what this is like. Also, I was going to go over at some point, so I thought, perfect. And I ended up playing a game of 5-a-sides with Tartan Army or Scotland fans in New York, which I think was organised by the SFA because they were going out to march in the Tartan Week parade for the first time. I think partly because of, obviously, the World Cup in the summer. But I thought, the SFA will be going, but there is no way Steve Clarke has the time. There's no way he'll be doing that. He's too big time. But boy, was I wrong. Steve Clarke. So, just a bit of context. Played this. It was actually a 7-a-side tournament in the middle of New York. Very surreal, but very fun. 3 teams of 7, 4 matches each, 15 minutes. 7-a-side games, rotating. Obviously, 1 team off, 2 teams on. Played 3 games. I stunk out the gaff. Disgusting football from my behalf. However, Steve Clarke was scheduled to come for the 4th game. Now, I didn't really subconsciously or consciously didn't mean to turn into prime David Silva for him coming. But in the 4th game, having not scored or even got an assist in the first 3 games, I scored 2 in the 4th game when Steve Clarke was present. I must say though, on both occasions I did shamelessly looked over because I thought I need to see if he saw that. And on both occasions he was chatting, looking the other way.
That's heartbreaking. So you're not in the 55-man squad then, you don't think?
Don't think so.
Not quite.
Maybe if there was a 65-man squad, but 55, I think Ollie McBurney's just in front of me there.
Maybe.
Perhaps Paddy Redding as well. So there's a few guys just in front of me. For
Maybe
the
he
squad.
looked at you and thought, you know what, this guy is perfect to be fourth, fifth choice to another striker. You know, Ollie McBurney. He said to me he's got to be one of the main guys if he's there. Maybe he looked at you and thought, this guy, you know what, he could clean some boots.
Well, I should have said that to him, to be fair, because I'm wonderful at cleaning boots, and I am a phenomenal seventh striker. So if he
Yeah,
was, if he
exactly.
was-
It's a weird sort of job to do in a squad because Ollie McBurney, he's not scrubbing boots. He's not, you know, cleaning up, you know, squashies packets at the ends of games. But you'd be there. You'd be doing that.
Oh, I'd be handing out the slices of tangerine, no bother. Jelly babies at half time, perfect. So hopefully he saw enough in me to get me involved. I'm not sure. Well, he didn't because he wasn't paying attention. But I got my picture with him, Callum, after the game. Spoke to him. Made sure I was wearing my Air United shorts for the picture. Just, you know, I'm not smiling in a picture with a Kilmarnock legend and not having my Air United shorts in there. So as much as he's a legend in his own right for Scotland, he is a Kilmarnock legend. So I made sure I was wearing my Air United shorts. And then we went to the pub after. Not just me and him, obviously. Ian Maxwell was there. Kenny Miller, head of the SFA media. And all the other guys from the SFA were top notch. Good chat. Lovely as well. And then on the next day, didn't stop there, Callum. Next day was the parade, and I was chatting to Steve Clarke again. So lovely guy. Gave everyone the time. Did a wee speech at the end of the football as well. He was like, you know, threw a few jokes in. He had us all eating out his hand. So it was quality from the SFA. It was good. Good turnout. They were part of the parade too. So it was good stuff. And it was really fun meeting all of them. So very surreal though. I was sort of one point on the Saturday during the parade. I turned around and saw Steve Clarke about 2 meters away, and I thought, like, what am I doing? You know, occasionally in life, like, you do something that's just not really your normal. My normal day is normally cutting about Glasgow, doing some pretty mundane stuff, but not that day. And Steve Clarke was not far. I thought, what am I doing in the centre in New York City right now, standing beside Steve Clarke? But quality stuff. So as you can tell, as all the listeners can tell by my sort of 10-minute monologue or whatever, I had a great time and loved it.
Yep. Well, let's say don't meet your hero as well. It sounds like you did, and you had a brilliant time. So, Fraser, thank you for that lovely story. But without further ado, let's jump in to our pound for pound best teams in the SPFL this season. What people clicked on this video for this podcast to hear. So, look, it's quite simple that the rule is this. I feel like we've kind of half discussed and mentioned teams as being one of the pound for pound best teams in the SPFL when we've done most podcasts most week. But obviously what that means is the teams that have achieved the most, possibly for their expectations coming into the season or compared to their league, the size of the club, whatever that might look like. We're going to discuss it all. We've got a top 5 to go through. We're going to reveal them one at a time and in classic Joga Bonito format. But Fraser, before we get into that, we're going to do some honourable mentions. There's a few teams in here that I was thinking for my list. I've not heard your list yet, Fraser. Hopefully we do have a few teams that are going to sort of match up together in this. A team that's going to miss out for me, one that we've been talking about all season, is unfortunately going to be Stranraer. They've been so exciting in League 2. They've fallen away from that League 2 sort of playoff position, but they have a special place in our heart, don't they?
They do. They do. I tried to shoehorn them. They're not making it into my top 5, unfortunately. Potentially, if we'd done this maybe just after they'd beaten Queen's Park in the Scottish Cup, and they were really on a good run of form, I probably would have had them in there. But they've stuttered a wee bit of time since then. Obviously then had the devastation of being put out of the Scottish Cup. Not for footballing reasons, but they've had a great season. We've thoroughly enjoyed their content as well as their football.
Yeah. A squad of a high ceiling there, bags of talent in the squad. I was going to just touch on that as well. Obviously, they have missed out on the playoffs, and Forfar have made their way in. They've had a bit of a late run at things, but to be honest, I'm not going to put Forfar in as well. I don't know if they're going to make it for you, Fraser. A team that I think they've just been the best of quite a big clump of teams, possibly even counting Edinburgh City, and they didn't have their points deduction, and Dunbar. I think all 6 teams sort of outside of that top 3, 7 teams, sorry, outside of that top 3, I think they're quite similar. Some average teams in there, but a bit of consistency from Forfar as the season's continued to go on's got them in there, but maybe not quite cracking this pound for pound list that we've got. This top 5 is not easy to get into.
Yeah, no, it's not, because particularly there's been some standout teams this season. I think everyone listening right now, we're keeping a little bit of mystery, but I think there's a couple of teams that people will know.
You can guess who's going to be up here, yeah.
Exactly, and that's to the detriment of teams like Forfar and Stranraer, and of course Partick Thistle. Callum,
not making your list?
Not making my list,
I
unfortunately.
thought they would have been in there. You're a big Partick Thistle fan. I'll be honest, right? I'll say they've not made my list. They were my 100% my first cut, unfortunately. So,
well, they up until about half an hour ago they were on my list, but I've done a bit of tweaking, I've done a bit of sort of soul searching, and I think they've just fallen off because, based on the fact that, okay, yes, I'm fully aware, Partick Thistle fans, if you asked 100 Partick Thistle fans before the season started where they thought they were going to finish in the league, 99 would probably say in the bottom half of the championship. Probably about 60 of those 99 would have said maybe even in the bottom 3. There was
I think they've had as many club statements, I think, this summer as they've had losses in the league. They've only lost 4 games this summer. I remember at least 4, 5, 6 club statements. It felt like last summer. They're a club in a bit of turmoil, and to finish the campaign with just 4 losses is quite remarkable, especially when you consider how average their away form's been this season, that they kept that title run going for so long. 65 points. They're going to go into the playoffs, and if they do have their players, really fit, coming back into those games to get a little bit of a break after I've done Dunfermline play, they'll have every chance of pulling something off. But as the season's gone on, they really did sort of just start to not quite. They were close to St Johnstone at times, and when they'd get 2, 3, 4, 5 points behind them, felt like, right, that's a chance to really pull them in. And there was a few occasions where that happened, but they never were able to do it. St Johnstone led all the way. Injuries didn't help Thistle, but they have been electric and their football's been brilliant. This top 5 for me, though, was really difficult to pick, and there's some big teams in there.
There are some big teams. There's some really good teams. Interesting, actually. Just looking at my list, there's one very common theme with these. With these, 4 of the 5. I'll maybe not say now because it might give away quite a lot, but I'll come back to it at the end.
I can guess what it is. So
it's quite a coincidence because it's not often. It's quite an interesting theme, but yeah, really some brilliant teams in this list. A lot of teams that we've enjoyed watching, and I think a lot of people will have enjoyed watching this season. In Partick Thistle, I certainly have, but I just think they're too big a club, and at championship level, they should be expecting to be in a title race most seasons. So, yes, taking into consideration where they were at the start of the season, and now there's an argument that they could have made it. But I think in terms of just the size of the club and the players that they now have at their disposal, I think pound for pound, had they won the league, they'd be in my top 5. But they just missed out. So, unfortunately for them, they're also missing out on my top 5 pound for pound list. But I'm sure they'll not be too disappointed about that.
Yeah, I think if we made this a 16-1, this will have that spot. So let's not wait around anymore, Fraser. We're going to start off at spot number 5, and I've been tossing and turning all afternoon, all evening about this one. But at 5th place, a bit of a tough one, and if they do go on to pull this off, we might look back at it and say they might get up a spot or 2 more. But for me, in 5th, it's going to be Heart of Midlothian. Who's your 5th place team?
The Jam Tarts, of course. I'm going Hearts as well.
Your Hearts as well? Okay, right. Okay, that's good to know. I was a bit worried, like, we could have had them 1, could have had them 5. They've been the story this season, most definitely. Hearts as a club, the reason I've put them 5 below some teams is that I don't think it's outrageous to say Heart of Midlothian are a big enough club that they should be looking to finish in the top 3 each season, but actually getting in there, sort of breaking through that sort of that ceiling and top of them to get in there really in and about Southland Rangers. People sort of laughed Tony Bloom off a bit this summer. Said, I might like the ambition, but I'm not seeing it happening anytime soon. To say they're going to get in there and disrupt the Old Firm, potentially slightly helped out by the fact that, let's be honest, the Old Firm have both been in crisis modes at different times of this season, and another year maybe would have got enough points. But you know what, Hearts, you can beat the teams in front of you. They've been really good in those big games against the Old Firm teams. Another big win in the Edinburgh Derby there to keep that, crucially just keep that little gap at the top as well. And I think they had to be in this top 5 for what they've achieved so far this season.
Yeah, I said obviously when speaking about Partick Thistle, I'd considered Partick Thistle 5 and Hearts not on the list, but then pound for pound doesn't need to be. Pound for pound sort of takes into consideration just how good they are relative to the resources that they have. And yes, Hearts have, in comparison to other teams in this list, bucket loads of resources, but they're still performing to such a high level that pound for pound, they still have been fantastic. So, yeah, for me, I thought, they've not won the league yet. They might not win the league, and if they come third in the end, which I don't think they will now, but if they do come third, pound for pound, have they been that brilliant? But actually, of course they have. They've completely thrown a spanner into the works of what is Scottish football this season. They've done so playing good football. They've done so playing sort of more resolute football. They've got one of the best players, or some of the best players in the league. Well, without doubt, you get Claudio Braga, Lawrence Shanklin, Cammy Devlin, all these players playing brilliantly.
And I think that's important to say as well. We're not just saying they're the best players in the league. In a way, I think you could almost shoehorn players into that role in the past in comparison to the Old Firm teams where you say, actually, I think this guy's one of the best players in the league. If they don't play for Celtic and Rangers, you almost say it just to be a bit of fashionable if you kind of not. I mean, those guys genuinely have been the best players in the league from a genuine perspective. If you had to put an 11 of Premiership players out to play one game to save your life, you'd probably actually put a few Hearts players in there without a shadow of a doubt, I think, actually.
Oh, easily, yeah. There's a reason why these players are making the team of the year and why they're being voted by their peers. There's been some phenomenal recruitment. There's been great coaching from the Hearts coaching team. Derek McInnes has done brilliantly to obviously tap into the strengths and qualities of these players. They've been exceptional. For that reason, pound for pound, absolutely deserve to make my list and your list, obviously. And I think regardless of what happens in the end, they've been phenomenal. And I think if they do go on to do it, to beat Celtic and Rangers, when you look at the gap in finances between Hearts and those two clubs, it would be truly astonishing. So I think it's too hard. It's too hard to ignore. I know they're a big club. Hearts are a massive club. There's no two ways about it. But just when you consider the context of what Scottish football has been for the last 40 years, and the budget still, even now with Tony Bloom's money, it would be such an impressive achievement. So, they deserve their plaudits.
I think they've shifted the narrative a little bit in the dynamics of what's been happening at the top of Scottish football, so definitely deserve that spot. Moving up to 4th position then, if you're happy to, Fraser. I've been having a lot of thoughts about this one as well. All my picks actually here, you could interchange them as much as you want. In 4th position for me, I have gone down to the Championship and I have put Arbroath into 4th place. Fraser, who do you have 4th? Are we still in agreement here?
We're not, and I don't
not?
know. I fear that you're about to put up some very good arguments as to why Arbroath are 4th, and the team that I'm going for in 4th, I've got a feeling you're going to argue them to be higher, and I think you'll have me convinced by the end. But I'm going with Falkirk.
Okay, yes, Falkirk are. No, sure, they are one of my teams to come still. Do you still have Arbroath to come in yours as well? Are you happy to say?
I'll keep that close to my chest, but yes.
Keep that close to your chest. Okay, right, I'm not surprised. Okay, I was a bit worried there you're not even going to have Arbroath in your top 5, which I think would be very unfair. But they're still to come. We'll make this debate, so we'll come in and out of the teams that we go for. But I'll start by touching on Arbroath and why I've put them in 4th position. I mean, quite simply, the fact of the matter is that a part-time team finishing in the top 4, if it's going to be 3rd or 4th, we'll know come the weekend. Either way, what an achievement. And we have considered going back and do a reaction episode to our pre-season predictions, where I did tip Arbroath to finish bottom of the league because I couldn't decide who to put bottom of the league. So I just put Arbroath, and they have, from the first quarter of the season, thrown that out of the water as the year's gone on. They've just been the most consistent team outside of the top two all year long, which is actually a bit like League Two. I think the two divisions have some similarities, the Championship and League Two, where there's a lot of really even teams. But if you're just consistent, the quality of player in between these clubs, there's a lot of high quality football players, I think, in the Championship that can win any game of football. We've seen that with Airdrie, who are down towards the bottom. They can turn it on any game. Morton can beat anyone on the day. United as well can be a great matchup for any team. There's not much between these teams in the league, but Arbroath, the difference for them has just been deadly consistency. Obviously, they've been reeled in a little bit as the second half of the season's gone on. Got around to January, they lost Brooklyn Kabongolo and Taylor Stephen. 2 losses for them that I don't think they've replaced. Aiden Nesbitt, for example, came in and hasn't quite hit the same sort of form that Taylor Stephen was in. They've also brought in Tom Lang, who's been out injured as well, and I think that's impacted them a little bit. The year's gone on, but let's be honest. They're going to finish in the top 4 as a part-time football club, continuing this trend of League One champions coming up, keeping their momentum, and having a great season in the Championship. I think they're a solid lock in my top 5. Interesting the way you've put them though, but you've gone for Falkirk. Did you say they're in 4th place?
I've gone Falkirk, yeah. I don't know if you want me to touch on Arbroath, Callum, because I'd be happy to.
You don't need to tell me where you've put them, but will you tell me what's impressed you about them as to why they are in your top 5, and well, certainly higher than I've put them as well.
I think everything you've kind of mentioned there, they are in a position that they just should not be in. I think when you consider that they are currently the 15th ranked club in Scotland, it's astonishing.
Incredible.
Third best in the Championship. St Johnstone obviously are champions, and rightly so. Got a huge budget in comparison, full-time team. Some of the players, they were able to go last summer and recruit players for the league, seasoned Championship players, quality Premiership players as well within the squad. They are where they probably should be, round there or thereabouts. Partick Thistle, big fan base, big club. Then you've got Arbroath, a part-time team, again at the top end of the Championship, coming up from League One. They were I saw them in the League Cup earlier this season. I thought they're going to have a long, hard season. I thought they looked, Ayr United kind of steamrolled them a wee bit in the League Cup at Somerset Park. I thought this is going to be a long, hard season for Arbroath. They're coming up from League One, part-time team in a really, really strong Championship league. When you're coming, Ross County, bags of money, financially backed to the heavens. You've got Partick Thistle, Dunfermline as well, bags of money behind them. Raith Rovers, Ayr United, really good full-time teams. Morton as well, seasoned Championship team. Just thought there's no way that Arbroath are going to be anywhere near safety, really. I thought they'll be lucky if they can come 9th, and they're comfortably in the playoffs, and they've competed in every single game this season. They've beaten the champions comfortably as well. At one stage in the season, I think it was 3-0. Finlay Marshall's been exceptional. Ryan Dow's been brilliant. You've got players as well. You mentioned there Kabongolo, who they lost midway through the season. Just recruited brilliantly. They grew into the season, and they're sitting comfortably in 3rd place right now. They could go on to get promoted to the Premiership. It would be an astonishing end to the season for them if they did. I don't think they will, but just when you take all of that into consideration, I think it's been an absolutely exceptional season for them. And pound for pound, I'm maybe looking at this a little bit too literally, but pound for pound, for them to be where they are is exceptional. So,
they did lose to John Rankin's Ayr United.
They did, but that's more because of the quality of Ayr United, of course.
And Jamie Murphy, to be fair.
And the strike, that went and won goal of the season as voted by players and fans. So that just shows you when Arbroath are scored against, it's a worldie.
Yeah, I'll give you that one there. And Arbroath, I was up there a couple weeks ago, and what was a game that I think was billed as, well, certainly from an Arbroath perspective, the game to secure their place in the playoffs against Raith Rovers. And despite their recent form and Raith's form coming into it had been really strong as well, Arbroath put in a controlled performance, deserved the victory. It's a place that has a good buzz around it. They've got really good crowds there these days. They feel like a championship football club as well, which I suppose certainly literally and what the feel around the club was. I don't feel it felt like a championship club, back when we were playing